Cool. So I'm Josh Law. I'm here with Burt and Connor, and we're at the Andreen Hunt headquarters. Is that what you call it, I guess? This is the place?
Yes.
Sweet. And we're just going to sit down and talk about their personal stories, kind of how they got into this business, as well as Andreen Hunt and what its kind of purpose is and what you're out to do and why that matters. So we'll walk through it. But just to kick things off, would you mind just kind of introducing yourself, what your role is, at the company, and then maybe your backstory, just how you got here, and then we'll have the same for you.
Okay. Well, I'm Burt Andreen. I guess my backstory is that I have a civil engineering degree, and my role here at Andreen Hunt is basically the office guru. So estimating, accounting are the two big parts, but also quite a bit of HR and some other things, some of the more tedious kind of, what do you want to call it?
The stuff no one else wants
Regulatory
to do.
parts of construction that you have to take care of.
Sure.
Permitting, trucking, those kind of things. So if it happens in the office, a lot of times I'm the one, or my friend downstairs, Megan, are the ones that are doing it.
Sure. That's great.
Yeah. So I came to Andreen Hunt 2018. So I've been here about 7 years. My dad and Connor's dad and Bill Hunt started the company in 1998. They all came from their previous employer and started Andreen Hunt Construction. And so did engineering for 7 years and then switched to the construction side of things.
Sure.
About that long ago. And then have enjoyed it and loved it ever since. So
that's great. That's cool. Let's hear your backstory, and we'll dive deeper after that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Connor Coughenour. My role in the company is kind of a field superintendent. I spend most of my time out on our projects and helping out with everything that goes on in the field. Some days I'm shoveling, some days I'm, helping schedule and just making sure we're doing everything the way it was designed and to our specs and in the most efficient way possible. So
sure.
Spend, like I said, a lot of time in the field and out with the guys all day, every day. So my backstory, I went to school for mechanical engineering and worked in Denver for a couple of years for a mechanical contractor. So still in the construction industry, but more on the building side and less on the civil side. And 3 or 4 years ago, decided, if I was going to be in construction, I should go be around family and the people I like and work for a great company. So I moved back to Casper from Denver and been here for 3.5 years.
Nice.
So
very cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome. You mentioned that you did the engineering thing for a good chunk of time.
Yep.
And then kind of made, I don't know, the jump, the leap, the switch, whatever. I actually have a good friend up in Sheridan. He's also our landlord. Jason Spielman is his name. I don't know if you know Jason at all, but he has MVB up there, construction company. But he also actually has an engineering degree, did it for a bit, but he made that switch. I'm curious, what drew you to kind of making that transition? Why do that? I think a lot of engineers maybe wouldn't. Maybe that's not the case, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. But
you run into it more often than you would really know. That people who are working in, especially the project management side, materials procurement, and that kind of thing in construction, they have a lot of times an engineering background. They may not be licensed engineers, but there are a lot of them that are that way. The reason I wanted to make the switch is I was doing a lot of design at the time. It was, a lot of computer work, a lot of drafting, plan preparation, which I enjoyed. I really liked seeing a project, go from conception to watching it get built. But you didn't get the interpersonal interaction that you would get, let's say, in the construction industry. And there's some other things about construction. They're little more freedom with your schedule because you're not just engineering and designing things all the time. In construction, you get a little bit more
ebb and flow.
Yeah,
and stuff. Yep.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, it's not all out design and drafting all the time.
If your 10-year-old self saw kind of the path you've been on, would he be surprised?
I don't know, because my 10-year-old self was also the one that watched his dad start a construction company from their start, and so they started.
It's kind of in your blood.
Yeah, 2 or 3. They started with 2 or 3 employees, probably 3. The 3 guys who started it. And my dad, when he left his other job, I think he lost like 50 pounds because he went into the field and was doing construction. So the path, or the destination might have always been the same, but maybe the path might have been a little bit different.
Sure.
But I think that engineering was an integral part of my experience in allowing me to be able to go to bid lettings, read spec books, do all of those things that with a little bit more background knowledge than I would have had I just jumped right into construction.
Sure. I could ask a lot of questions. I'll ask you another question as it relates to, so you said it's more common than you think, but being that you have that kind of engineering background, do you get a sense that people, maybe this sounds harsh, I don't mean it harshly, but do they kind of treat you differently because you have that part? Because sometimes the construction companies like to, from what at least I've heard from my friend Jason, the construction companies will sometimes blame the engineering firm. The engineering firm will blame the construction, and you've kind of been on both sides. So I'm just curious, like, do they kind of look at you different or treat you different or anything like that?
I couldn't, so I worked in the same community when I was doing engineering. And so I built a lot of relationships through that work. So I don't know if I could say that I'm treated differently because I've done both or because I've just, I worked there before and I worked with some of those clients designing projects for them, and now we're building the projects for them. So I don't know if I could say that they do or do not treat me differently.
Maybe there's almost more trust.
Yeah, there's a little more trust.
Because you have those relationships on that side. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. So where you're at in your career, I'll ask you kind of the same question. If your 10-year-old self saw what you're up to and what you're doing, would he be surprised?
I kind of similar answer to Burt. I don't think so because, like him, you watch as a 10-year-old self, you watch your dad start a construction company, and I was around it for my whole life. And so it's no, I guess.
Sure. You started down the path of mechanical engineering. Mm-hmm. Did you finish that program?
I did.
You did. Okay.
Yeah.
What about mechanical drew you in versus? I know how I'd answer it, but from a civil, mechanical, or chemical, or electrical, or whatever. What drew you to mechanical?
Back to the 10-year-old self, I always knew that I would do some kind of engineering. As I kind of always thought I'd go to college, probably do some kind of engineering, and I was drawn to mechanical because I'm interested in, even as a little kid, vehicles and just machinery of all type. That's one thing I really like about construction is the heavy equipment. I think that is, and the systems and the capabilities they have in that today is absolutely amazing. And so back to the college question, because of that interest, I was kind of drawn to mechanical just because that's how my brain works. I can see things
in
very
space.
Clearly that way, yeah.
Sure.
But a lot of that, kind of the core of most of the engineering programs is very similar. So a lot of what I learned translates over and is useful. So
and you're University of Wyoming grad too?
Yep.
Cool. Okay. Sweet.
Yeah.
It's 3 of us.
That's cool. Yeah.
That's awesome. Not uncommon in Casper.
Yeah, right.
That's great. So as you kind of grew up, was there ever a time where you thought that you you didn't think you were going to get into the construction? Was there a time where you're like, nope, I'm not doing that. That's what my dad's been a part of, and that's not for me. I want to do something different. Was there ever a strong feeling there, even if it was short? I'm just curious.
Not for me, no. That was always something that I was proud of. I thought it was cool that.
Yeah.
I mean, that your dad went out and started a company, a successful company, and we'd drive around town and you'd be like, oh yeah, we're building that, or oh, we built that, and that's cool.
So, a lot of pride. Yeah, that's cool. That's great.
That's one of the really cool things about what we do, and the fact that we kind of stick to the Casper and surrounding community is that we can drive by parts of town and say, oh yeah, we built that, or we did that, or Connor lives in a neighborhood that we built all the infrastructure for. So
Yeah.
it's kind of one of the fun parts about it. And that's kind of what made me drawn to it as well, is that
Sure.
building stuff is fun.
Yeah, a very rewarding line of work for sure.
Building stuff is fun. I like that. That's good. It's good. No, it's a great line.
Company slogan for
Building stuff is fun. No, it's good. I'm also partners. I think I had shared this, but in a company called Go Fast, Don't Die, and so we do a lot of apparel in the motorcycle space mostly, but it's kind of a mental health brand. But a while ago, I spun up kind of a kids version, and it was going fun is fast was the idea. And anyway, really cool. So yeah, but building stuff is fun. Absolutely. I think that's what my friend Jason would say too. Engineering was cool, but he really liked to make the thing, build it, which I think harkens back to like Legos and all kinds of kids stuff that I know I grew up in using. It was fun to make something, build something. So go into like and try not to whoever goes first, try not to be too biased by the other person's answer, right? It's hard to do, but think for a minute on what is it that motivates you? Like what inspires you to get up every day and do what you do?
I'll let you go first.
My answer might be a little bit different than his, just because of my role in the company. But one thing that definitely drives me, the building stuff is fun, and that, I mean, I'm driven by that. Just I want to see our projects progress. I want to see us get things done. But since I'm out with the guys every day, there's kind of a sense of camaraderie. Like we all show up every day and we go and we get stuff done, and so that definitely drives me, of just going out every morning and like, all right guys, it's time, let's
get the team together, build that
and
energy.
And we have our morning meeting with the crew and talk about what we're going to do for the day. And so that part of it, and just being with those people all day and seeing them accomplish their goals and grow, and that's a really cool part of it. And
seeing other people's success through the work that you guys do as a team.
Exactly. And when we do accomplish it, I mean, everyone's proud of it. We look back and we're like, yeah, we did really good on that. Yeah. That's good. So
that's cool.
That's a big part of it for me.
That's cool. How about you?
It's an interesting question, because Connor's answer is going to be quite a bit different than mine. He spends a lot more time on a daily basis with all the guys. I'm here in this office doing the things, but kind of
the things, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of, one of the things about my personality is I'm like a box checker. So if I can make a list and get that list of things done, that is all the satisfaction that I need.
Sure.
So, if I have these 5 jobs to bid and an operating statement to get done and some bills to pay, and I can get all those things done in the day, I leave happy, because I've kind of checked all the boxes. I've made those achievements, and then also getting to go around every other day or so and see the progression of our work. I'm a little bit more distant, so I get to see kind of more of an incremental.
Yeah. So you kind of see almost bigger change, because there's
more
gaps.
milestone type changes. Yeah, because I'm not out there every day, which is kind of fun, because sometimes you're surprised and sometimes you're like, I thought that might go a little faster.
Yeah, sure. That's cool. That's great. As you kind of, and I don't want to throw shade at any one sort of person or anything. So just know where the heart of this is coming from is when you look at kind of how the industry does things, or how some of the people approach the industry, I sometimes like to uncover this idea of like a cultural enemy. And what I mean by that is like, what's maybe a behavior or an attitude or an approach that really is counter kind of the Andreen Hunt way. And again, I don't want to demonize a person or anything like that, but what is something you see out there that you're like, you know what, that's not how we do things?
It's not our enemy, but one thing that I would say kind of is counter our mentality is basically the low bid approach to project procurement. When a municipality or somebody lets a project and they look for the low bid, right? Yep. They're basically looking for somebody who's going to do it in the cheapest way possible.
Yeah.
And that's never been our mentality, is that we want to put out a quality product always. Are we going to go the extra mile? Well, we are within reason or what we can afford.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, it's not our nemesis, but the low bid approach is just not something we like to do. Now, obviously, sometimes we have to get the job.
Yep.
But
The type of work
work,
demands that. Yep.
Yeah, the type of work
And you're going to try to be competitive, but try not to cut corners.
Yeah,
and be honest about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's great.
The quality product is basically, what we always want to do. We want to try to anticipate problems before they happen, help in the construction process. If we find something that may cause some problems for a client down the road, then we'll probably try to identify that and work through that with the engineer to make sure that, we don't have problems with a parking lot or some curb and gutter or something down the road. And because of that, I think we have a lot of repeat clients, and we do a lot of private work because people know that they can trust us to get the job done when we say we will, and we're not going to usually catch them for too many extras.
Yeah, sure.
Depending on how the design was put together. But
that's good stuff. I one of our first brand projects really we ever did back in 2013. I hadn't really thought about it now, but was a construction company up in Sheridan, Fletcher Construction. They did like the Golden Dome up there. They did one of the iconic elementary school I went to, and just the Fletcher family just built that. And it was interesting. I was talking to Amy. They've since retired and are doing other things. But when I talked about, she was talking about low bid with me one day. She's like, the low bid oftentimes comes from someone who literally forgot something.
It's who forgot the most.
Who forgot the most? Like, shoot, did I not leave that? Like, did I take that out, or did I not put that in, or whatever, And I remember that was pretty eye-opening for me, because I like to think, especially for government jobs, government money, I'm like, yeah, okay, low bid, it's good for the American people, whatever, right? I mean, on the surface, right? But after hearing that, I'm like, wait a second, if you have a, $5 million project and you only won it because you left out $300,000 of something, like that invariably forces that person to figure out how to do it not the best way. And that's just fascinating. I don't know what the solution is, but I hear you. It's a challenge. So
I don't know if you have a different answer to that question.
It's kind of back to the field side of things. One thing that I think is common in construction is a lot of people that are in construction kind of have a mindset of like, we've been doing it this way for 40 years. It works, so we're going to keep doing it this way. And I think that as a company, we're pretty good about anytime we go in to do something, we try to analyze it and think of the best way to do it, even if it's not how we did it the last time, or learn from the last time and make it better versus just, like I said, we've done it this way for 30 years, so we're going to keep doing it this way.
Sure.
Just always try to be kind of innovative and better our approach to things.
Sure. It's kind of first principles approach, just saying like, if this is where we are and we're trying to get there, is the best way what we've done before, or is the best way to kind of re-examine this and look at the resources we have or the talents we have and go, let's try it doing this way. Yeah.
Is there a different tool out there that might help us get there faster or more efficiently, or perform better?
Right.
Yeah, that's huge. That's awesome. I was listening so much that I was not preparing for my next question as well as I should have. This is it. So if you look at like one of the burdens, I think, or something I feel very passionate about is I think the trades over the last 30 years have gotten overlooked because college has really been pushed pretty heavily. I know for me, like the idea of not going to college was kind of preposterous, like not that my parents forced it on me, but it was a big part of that. And not that, we're all college grads, it's all good. But if you could say one thing to like kind of a younger person that's considering like the path they're on, is there any advice you'd have when it comes to, trying to get people excited about the fact that building stuff is fun? Because I think sometimes, I think the number one, I have an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old, and all boys, and they're chaos, and it's awesome. But I think my two oldest, like their ambition right now is to be a YouTuber, right? Like that's what they've decided is like the end all be all, And if that's what they end up doing or whatever, like that's okay. But I'm trying to do my part to keep them off phones as much as possible. But it's a whole nother story. So when it comes to kind of inspiring this next generation, what do you think? What do you think needs to be? What do you think they need to know? Or what should they hear? What?
And as far as what they need to know, I don't know. I have a great answer to that. Something kind of, as you said, when I was, high school age, college was pushed really hard, and it was kind of like, it was just sort of expected, not necessarily by parents, but just like
Society.
by the school system and society. It was just like, that was it. There was not really a lot of other career options out there that were even really presented to you. And I think that for most people, unless you want to do like a strictly kind of office job, there's so many other career paths out there that you can do just as well at, or even better, financially, happiness wise, time wise, you.
There's just more options.
And if you
than people
just
realize.
it's fine if you take that path. And if you go into any industry that doesn't require a college degree out of high school, and you start, and you work hard, you'll make it places for sure, and probably have more fun and get to experience a lot more cool things in your job than if you did go to college. And so I'm kind of rambling, but my point being is just that, like, I'm not saying I necessarily would have picked that path of not going to college, but I was never really presented by society or the school system that was even an option. Like, hey, you can go to the trades and go
Get a certificate,
and
learn
do
a skill.
Yeah, and work, be a heavy machinery operator or a crew foreman or something like that, and get to build cool stuff and operate cool machinery and do plenty well financially and all that. I mean, it is an option.
Yep.
I think a lot of people don't know that or aren't really shown that.
Yep.
So
well, and for guys and gals not in our seat, growing up in Wyoming and going to the university, like on the other side of the coin is you can go to a big university or whatever and get $200,000 in debt.
Right.
So it's like you could actually, there's a path where you don't go to college and you get a certificate or you get trained in something and you can make great money right away and commit to it, like you said, work your way up. And there's a huge opportunity where some people were sold that go to college and get a high paying job, and like actually there's a lot of people out of college that make $40,000 a year, like that's that's interesting. That's not what I thought it'd be like. So but yeah, what's your perspective? What do you think the younger generation needs to maybe hear, like any misnomers or perspectives?
Aside from Connor and myself, I don't know if I can name any of our other leadership in our organization and your dad that have a college degree. And they are all leading crews, overseeing jobs, managing work. And basically they've, put in the time and come up through our organization, and basically they've kind of become foremen or superintendents based on that. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is that, especially in this industry, college is not required, but time is.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that college, maybe illustrates is that somebody can complete a task when they set to it. Because am I using much of my degree? Probably not. I probably should have got an accounting degree if I was gonna actually come to this job and then do this. So I'm not even using much of my degree, but it shows you what it means to set your mind to something and complete it. And so it's fine. But yeah, there are a lot of jobs out there that college is not required for, and that would love to have people that kind of get driven towards college, or I don't know, steered that way anyway.
Yeah.
Just because that seems to be what society wants them to do.
Sure. You mentioned, what degree you should have had. Do you happen to know, just because you were down there around the same time, but did you bump into Josh Fuller at all?
Josh Fuller.
So
Josh Fuller's from Casper. right?
So his wife is. He's from Sheridan.
Okay.
He lives in Jackson now, but he has his master's in civil from UW.
Okay. Oh, yeah. He has a beard, or had a beard.
Yep. Yeah. Ultra marathon runner. Yeah. Wild card
very
guy.
athletic guy. Yeah.
Yep. His mom's from New Zealand. Anyway, so we met in like 4th grade.
Okay.
And so we were best friends since then. We were roommates in college, but so he has his master's in civil, and he's the CEO of Jorgensen over in the Tetons, Pinedale and stuff, Jackson stuff. But he often jokes, but not jokes. He's like, yeah, I got the wrong degree to be CEO of an engineering firm. He's like, I should have got a psychology degree.
Well,
that's what his claim is.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would have helped him or not, but
Probably not.
Yeah.
Those kind of things are, I don't know. Although the human resource things, those are tough.
It can be tough for sure. Yeah. So speaking of tough, I wanted to talk about like what is in the process. You've been here 3 years now and 7. Mm-hmm. Yep. So in your guys' journey so far, what would you say has been like the hardest thing? Like at just your job, like going through the process, or what's the hardest thing you've encountered? Maybe it's not an everyday thing, but just what's been like, dang, that was tough.
Well, you kind of planted the seed, but the people, right? Trying to apply the same set of rules to everybody in the same way, right? When no two situations are the same. And just trying to get everybody on the same goal, moving in the same direction is sometimes hard because personalities change across the 30-some people that we have.
Yeah.
There's no two personalities that are the same. I mean, we have several father-son
duos.
Nephew, uncle, and none of them are the same either. So it's just interesting. The personalities, I don't know, would be the biggest challenge, I would say.
Yeah, that's huge. How about you? You kind of were drawn. What I found awesome is you were drawn to the camaraderie and getting everyone together and working. And so, do you see it differently?
Are you talking physical difficulty or mental difficulty?
That's great. I'd love to hear both.
Because that obviously a lot of the work that we do is not necessarily physically easy. Sometimes there's, big paving days are tough. A lot of just, shoveling long, hot days. But like I said, at the end of it, you look back and it looks really cool. And wow, we did it. Yeah, you're kind of proud of it. So
yeah, hard stuff is okay.
Yeah, it is.
Hard stuff's not bad stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would say everyone that works here feels the same way. I mean, all of our guys have no problem showing up to work and working hard and getting it done. And and I mean, kind of along the lines of what Burt said, there's just, we work in the field in a very dynamic environment and just always, keeping a level head and looking at every situation just kind of from ground zero and just saying, look at all the factors involved and trying to make it the best decision you can.
Yep.
Sometimes you kind of got to stop for a second and look around and think, and that can be difficult when, like I said, in a highly dynamic environment.
Yeah. You don't have all the information. You can still make a decision.
Yeah, exactly.
That can be challenging. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. This kind of harkens back to something we talked about a little bit earlier, but when you look at kind of the group of people, so we've talked a lot about people here just recently, what do you think is a common, sort of attribute or like a through line that when you kind of look at the people who really are aligned with the Andreen Hunt kind of perspective, like is there a characteristic or a personality trait or something, a worldview? I don't know. Is there something that you kind of look for or you have seen over the years?
Maybe not necessarily look for, but just a common thing in all of our field leadership and the people that have been around in the company for a while. It's just that, like I said, just kind of the drive to want to get the job done and do it right. And that's, I mean, all of the people that have been here a while kind of all have that same mindset. I mean, they want to get the job done, they want to do it right, and they want it to look good when they're done.
That's good. Yeah. Not just get it done, but get it done right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And yeah, that's great. That's great. How about you? Do you?
Yeah, our guys take a lot, or at least that seems to be the common mentality, is they take a lot of pride in what they're doing, and a lot of kind of they take responsibility or ownership of some of those projects, so that it's not like, so when you drive by something that's fallen apart, you're not saying that's something we worked on that.
Yeah. Yep.
We want to be able to look back on it in 4 or 5 years and know that it's still a quality product.
Yeah.
And I think our guys really buy into that too.
Yeah.
Sure.
A lot of times, they don't cut corners, or at least they try not to. And so I kind of the same thing that Connor said.
That's great. That's great. As you kind of look towards the future, both, I don't know, the economy at whole, or at large, I should say, and kind of in Casper, what are the things that from your guys' seat, like in your business, that is, what's an impediment to growing? What's the thing that, I don't know if it keeps you up at night, but it's stuff you ponder and you think about as you're in pursuit. And I don't know, do you have, maybe you don't have like this real specific goal, and that's totally fine. I'm actually kind of an advocate of not having these kind of weird goals. I like the process and the journey and trying to just do the things really good each day. But as you kind of look at the opportunity and where you want to take the business, what is the thing that's maybe, I don't know, that could hold you back or be a stumbling block or constrain or be frustrating?
As far as it, in the current state that we're in, and Casper as a town, and since we do work primarily in Casper, seems to be growing, and there's seems to be work here. I think one of the biggest things I could see in the future holding us up is, just lack of people to lead the group. We talked about like our generation and a lot of them wanting to go to college, feeling like they should have gone to college, and maybe not as many of them going into the trades. And it just seems like as the next generation moves up, there might not be as many people out there that are going to want to, do the type of work that we do. And that's that's the backbone of the company. If we don't have the people to do the work, we can't do the work.
Yeah.
So I think that's huge, because a lot of our, there's, in just the construction industry in a whole, there's a lot of very experienced people out there that at some point are going to retire and be out of it. And so then has to be more people, and the next generation to kind of follow them. And so if you can't get the people here to make that happen, it's going to be difficult.
Back,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's hard to do it without people.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
Well, yeah, it seems like, and the last, my frame of reference is not very long, but it seems like there's always been plenty of work to be done, and not enough people to do it for us. And one thing that Connor's dad said a little while back is that we can always go buy another piece of equipment, but it's really hard to just find more people to do the work, more butts to put in those seats. And so kind of to piggyback off of what Connor said, we have a lot of people that are probably going to be leaving the industry or leaving our company here in the next couple of years. And so it's going to take a little bit of willingness to train some new ones too. People that want to be involved in some things. We're going to have to start figuring out how to rely on those younger people who also want to take some initiative as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Do you, I don't know, have you looked at like average age at the company or anything like that, and how it's trending, or do you look at any data like that at all? I know there's like not a ton of people, but
yeah. It's significantly younger. The average age is, if I was going to guess, it's probably than it was when I started here 7 years ago.
Yeah, it's moved down.
Yeah, a lot actually. But yeah, we still have probably 4 or 6 guys in our foreman kind of leadership, crew lead area that are going to be retiring within the next 10 years is my guess.
Yeah, sure. So that'd be a big void if it's not there.
Yeah. But we're working on it. I mean, we obviously, it takes time. Like I said earlier, it just takes time for people to get the right amount of experience. And sometimes I learn every day that I need more experience at certain things. And so
yeah. Oops, that didn't go well.
Yeah.
And
usually getting experience also costs money in construction. So
there you go. Yeah.
You pay for it dearly.
Yeah. A friend of mine calls that running out of talent.
Yeah.
It's like, I ran out of talent. Usually it's related to snowmobiling or climbing.
I was going to say, I snowmobile with some guys that they like to make that joke. When they come up to dig you out, they say, what'd you do, run out of talent? Yeah, I did.
I did, yeah. That's funny. Do you ever ride with Brian Fable, Mandy Fable? Those guys know? They ride with some people here in Casper, so I thought maybe there's some overlap. But that's where I heard it from, was Brian and Mandy, so it's pretty cool. Let me take a look at my notes real quick and see if there's a few things I want to... I was going to ask this a couple questions ago, and then I jumped ahead. But what would you say is kind of the two things? The boldest move you personally have made, kind of in your career, and why was that? Why did you choose that? I'd love to hear. And then also, as a company, what do you think? 7 years, 3 years, but what's the boldest move the company sort of has made while you've been around? I'd love to get your guys' perspective on that.
It's interesting. It's an interesting question. So I can think of two that would probably fall into the boldest move category. One was making the switch, deciding to make the switch from engineering to construction.
Yeah.
Because I'm a firm believer that, a job will always, a career, a job will always be 90% great, and 10% of it will not be the fun part.
Yeah.
And so, when I was having all my lack of fun doing all of the design work that I was doing, that's just part of the job, right? And so I was not unhappy at my last job. I actually really thoroughly enjoyed the people and the place to work and the projects that I was working on, but it was just the work that was starting to get under my skin. And so I wasn't really looking to change. I didn't want to change, and so when you decide to up and leave something that you've been doing for 7 years, it's the longest I'd been doing anything.
Yeah.
You go through all your different levels of school, and those change every couple of years. But so I think that's probably a pretty bold move. Other than people change careers a lot, it seems, anymore. And then in deciding to step into ownership at Andreen Hunt, because once you do that, the career change option is significantly more limited.
You're sticky.
So
You're sticky now.
It's kind of stuck. Yeah. So that's probably one thing that when you start, it might keep you up at night a little bit. It's because hope I like it, because
I'm in it.
I'm in it now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's cool. That's good. Thank you for sharing. How about for you, man?
Yeah, mine are the exact same. Like Burt said, you make a big career change and you come back here, and then you really lock in, and it's like, I've chosen this path now. I mean, I'll be on this path until I retire.
That's the plan.
And for me, that's what, 30 plus years out. So, that's longer, or as long as I've been alive. So it's kind of like you're setting your course for the next big chunk of your life. So that's definitely kind of keeps you up at night. Feels like a bold move.
Sure. Now, how about has there been anything that sticks out as a company, like a strategy or a shift, or like a commitment to a type of work, or buying a piece of equipment, or expanding, or anything that felt like as a company was like, man, that was pretty bold? Is there anything that comes to mind? Just curious.
Do you have any? When I came to work here, the three owners were here, still working here, and they'd been working together for 20 years, and things were really good. They had a niche going. They did a lot of new construction, right? Not a lot of rehab work. A lot of work where we could work as a heavy civil contractor directly with an owner, or the engineering firm or the municipality. And so they had kind of worked their way out of doing the heavy civil side of building construction. So, you have a large general contractor and then they employ all the trades. In the past couple of years, we have started doing some larger civil site packages. It's not really bold.
Like vertical stuff?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. We don't do any of the vertical work, but we do all the outside stuff.
Okay, cool.
And we hadn't really done that a lot before. And it's not really a bold move. It's just, doing work. But at the same time, it's different. And it's been good for us. We've learned and been able to put kind of all of our talents to use. When you talk about, we do pipe, asphalt, concrete, paving, earthwork. There's not a lot of, everybody in town kind of does that, but we are able to do it at a scale probably. And so I think that that's just kind of been something that it's kind of been a shift, I guess, more than a bold move in the past couple of years. I don't know if that makes sense.
I would agree with that. Like I said, kind of a shift that's allowed us to utilize our resources in a little bit different way, but completely on a project.
We can move all of our stuff is at one project.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Sure. That's cool. That's great. What's when you talk about the pride of past projects, you drive by them, it's kind of in the Casper area. Would you mind sharing just one of the proudest projects that, people might drive by or see or whatever? I'd love just from your perspective, why are you particularly proud of it? What is it?
Go ahead.
Either, yeah. Sorry, we're all looking at you, but yeah.
One particular one.
Or that you love to be known for, maybe is another way to... It's cool to be known for that particular project.
Well, one of the highest profile projects we've done probably is we did a lot of the work on the Wyoming Sports Ranch that went in by the event center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of the groundwork, excavation, concrete or asphalt. We didn't do the concrete on that one. Pipe. We did a lot of work on that project, which was kind of fun because it was a kind of a community-oriented project that there were a lot of donors and community pride involved in that one. So that's one that we just finished up and I think we're pretty proud of.
Thing's massive. It's so cool.
Yeah,
I went in October, so a few months before.
Yeah.
And got a tour through Leadership Wyoming, and it was sweet. I was telling everyone about it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, and we just did a little piece of it, but it was kind of fun to be part of that piece.
Sure. That's cool.
Yeah, that I would agree with that. That one's probably one of the most, to almost talk to anybody and they're like, oh yeah, kids had an event up at the sports ranch, and we worked on that.
Yeah.
So that one's a pretty cool one.
Part of the team to build it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And the subdivision I think is cool because you talk to a lot of people and they say, I live over wherever, and it's like, yeah, we built that subdivision. That's cool.
We've done a lot of infrastructure development work. So.
Yeah, sure. That's awesome. Well, we'll start kind of trending towards the end here. One thing that's really important to me and just our business is telling an authentic story. And what I love about doing this podcast with you guys is we just get up here into your story a little bit. And I found that I've never met like a boring person. I've found that I've just asked bad questions. When you can take time to sit down and ask someone, get to know them, ask some questions, it's like, wow, that's really cool. So where did you grow up? How did you get there? And it's always fascinating. And I think for a company like Andreen Hunt, like finding a way to tell that story to help you accomplish those goals, like to attract great people, to work on cool projects, to have fun building stuff, to have a culture of let's get it done, but let's get it done right. Like those are all parts of that story that you guys are putting together every single day. So I just think it's really cool to be able to do this and share this out. And I appreciate you guys doing that. With story kind of in mind, we jumped kind of straight a little into like school and things like that, but would you mind sharing a little bit before we kind of wrap? Just like you grew up here, like I'd love to hear the younger person, like because we're all just like little kids in adult bodies at some level. So it's like, I don't know, you hear like you know, I don't know. I got my kids these go-karts, and I like to drive them as much as they do. You know, I barely fit in it, but I definitely rip around in these go-karts, and it's fun. So anyway, I'd love to hear kind of your story. Like, what was your childhood like? Like, how, you know, did you grow up here? I think we both kind of mentioned that, but yeah. And then we can kind of put a bow on it.
Yeah, just I did grow up in Casper. And I knew Burt actually when we were really, really little.
Well, your mom babysat me after kindergarten every day.
And then there was a time period, I think, where you come over and babysit us. So it was kind of, known Burt for a long
forever,
time.
Yeah.
But grew up in Casper, and then was here until I went to college in Laramie. And as a kid, I was around a lot of this kind of stuff. I mean, my dad has built most of the houses that he's lived in, and so the house that they still live in. When I was a kid, we moved out there and built the house, and kind of
live in what you made.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So, have been around the construction industry for most of my life, and Casper as well. And
you snowmobile, you said?
I snow bike.
Snow bike. Oh, sweet. Yeah. 450s?
Yeah. I ride a 500, but yeah.
Sweet. That's a good call.
Yeah. So
a little more power.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun, and have a group of guys. We go down to the snowies down south, outside of Saratoga there, and
rip around.
Yeah.
That's cool.
They're fun.
Nice. That's awesome. Cool. Well, how about you? How about kind of growing up?
It's kind of the same as Connor's, you know, like you said, because our parents started this company 27 years ago.
Yeah.
Basically, most of our lives, we've known each other and been in Casper and worked in Casper. My dad kind of grew up as an avid outdoorsman, so hunting, fishing.
Yep.
In his retirement, he basically hunts and fishes full time. And we did that a lot. We did that a lot growing up, so it's kind of still what we do. And then, Dad retired and got some cows because he thought that might be a fun thing, and so I help him out with that now. And
that's cool.
Yeah. So, basically lived in Casper my whole life. My parents have a place at Glendo. We spent a lot of time at the lake there.
Sweet.
Yeah, did there growing up.
Did you both think you'd come back to Casper? Or was there ever a moment where you really weren't sure?
I always thought I would.
Yeah.
When I was late high school and into college, I didn't necessarily think I would come back to Casper, but I didn't really know where I was gonna.
Sure.
And I never had the feeling that I didn't want to come back to Casper, but I didn't really know where I wanted to end up.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. Well, I sure appreciate the time, and thanks for just leaning in and being part of it, man. So those of you kind of tuning in, Andreen Hunt here in Casper, just doing cool stuff, building cool things, building stuff is fun. I think was maybe the phrase you said, building stuff is fun.
Yeah,
so
my best quote.
I like it. It's good. Cool. And I'm Josh with OnlyCo, and we're here to help build business and help people tell their story in a powerful way to compel the outside to know how awesome the inside of our clients and the people we work with are. So I sure appreciate it. Thanks for peeling back the onion and spending some time with me.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.